Hello and welcome to Frugal Over 50. I'm Amy and I'm happy that you're here with me today for another edition of the Wednesday One Take. Here on Frugal Over 50, we talk about everything related to frugality, minimalism, and intentional living, especially aimed at the needs of the mature woman. And every Wednesday I have a series called the Wednesday One Take, where I just look into my phone camera and start talking about a subject that interests me and that hopefully will interest you. Based on my views for the last week, these Wednesday One Takes are as close to a hit as I'm getting with my brand new YouTube channel. So thank you very much. My subscriber count continues to increase, which astonishes and delights me. So thank you very much for joining me here on the channel. If you have not yet subscribed, I hope that you'll do that today. Now, for today's Wednesday One Take, I would like to do a follow-up on the Wednesday One Take that I did last week. I'll link that above, and I'll also link it below in the description box. So if you'd like to check it out, you can watch both in sequence if you want to. Last week, I talked about something that I called frugality and capitalism. And in that video, I made a point which I believe to the bottom of my heart to be true, which is that we cannot change or affect everything which changes and affects us. Specifically, our current economic system here in the world is really driven by capitalism, and not all of this is beneficial to us as frugal people. And I made a point about this because I want to help people understand that when we arrive at our 50s and beyond, if we are women, we have often been taking care of other people for a very long time, and we may feel very responsible for all sorts of things out in our world. And there are many things which we cannot control. And we may end up in life situations which we didn't think that we had chosen, but here we are. And we can't control that. Now, it might seem obvious when I just say it like that, but I think it bears repeating even here. Because today I want to talk about the flip side of that, which is our personal responsibility. What is our personal responsibility? And I owe a great debt here to Stephen Covey. If you're my age or older, you know all about Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in his first habit, which he calls Be Proactive, he talks about circles of concern and circles of influence. And he uses a circle image to describe the sort of bundle of things that we get concerned about in life, and then the bundle of things that we have influence over. And the two don't always meet up. Last week, I was talking about our circles of concern. We may be concerned about the national debt. I know I tend to be. We may be concerned about strife at the border. We may be concerned about all sorts of difficulties in our country, in our world, in our families, but we can't really change them. Those things may affect us and may affect our choices, but we cannot on our own, in our individual lives, change those larger things. Now, the next area that Stephen Covey talks about is our circles of concern. I just said circles of concern. Well, it's a Wednesday One Take. You get the whole thing here. So he talked about our circles of concern, the areas that we cannot change, that are really bigger than our influence. And then he talks about our circles of influence. That is the bundle of things that we can actually do something about. This channel is really focused mostly on that area, the circles of influence. And everybody has a different sense of what they have influence over, depending on where you are in life and who you are in life and what your responsibilities are, what your interests are. But basically, I want to go back now, back farther than Stephen Covey, back to my 7th grade social studies teacher, who taught us about something that she called the basic human needs. Now, these are physical needs. These aren't the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for self-fulfillment. This is just basic human needs. And the basic human needs were food, clothing, and shelter. Did anybody else get this in 7th grade social studies? It was a fantastic area of study for us, and we did a huge project on how people throughout history have gotten their needs met for food, clothing, and shelter. We do have both concerns about how the wider world handles these things, as I said in my last video, but we also have influence over how we handle these things in our own lives. So, for instance, food. I want to give a special shout out to Wendy over at The Frugal Minimalist, who gave me a saying in one of her recent videos. I'll try to link it below if I can find it again, where she says, "Our family are not brand loyal, we are price loyal." And I was like, it's brilliant. Now, this is something that an individual and a family has control over. Deciding, do I go with a particular brand? And some people do. Everybody seems to like Hellmann's mayonnaise, for instance. I don't know, I make my own. People are brand loyal about certain items, yes? But if you are price loyal, then you're constantly looking for the best price for you and for your family. And this can apply to food, clothing, and shelter. But thinking specifically about food, it can help us make wise decisions that really help us stick to our budgets and feed us in a nutritional way. And both things are important because we, again, have at least a certain amount of influence over whether we feed our families in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. Now, nutrition science is really in its infancy, and the question of what is healthy and what is not healthy is really up in the air right now. But basically, you can't go wrong with, fruits and vegetables, with meat, with legumes, with beans. There are all sorts of things that you can look at and say, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that's healthy. You don't have to eat Twinkies. These are basic things. But they are things over which we have influence. Now, when it comes to clothing, this is another place that I talked about this in my last video, this idea of fast fashion and this sort of global phenomenon of turning clothes into a disposable item, which then turns people into a disposable item. And see, I'm very concerned, and I actually am, but I have almost no influence over this. Now, but I made a decision, if I buy something that is produced by the fast fashion industry, I take it slowly and I make it last a long time. That's a personal choice that I've made. I've also seen on some other YouTube channels that there are many people who choose to only shop at thrift stores. So they stop the thing from reaching them and they only get secondhand. There are all sorts of ways that we can influence our world and have ourselves well clothed within our budgets and intentionally. Also, if we're trying to live minimally, we're not going to have huge wardrobes anyway, so that helps as well. So food and clothing, and then shelter. Shelter has been a big deal in the United States since the early 2000s because we had this huge real estate boom, and then in 2008 everything just kind of crashed. Many people suffered hugely, and just 10, 11 years out are really starting to now recover and wondering what's happening next. And in the middle of this, it can be difficult to sort out what kind of shelter do I need? What kind of shelter does my family need? What can my budget afford? What am I stuck with from back in 2008? And if you're my age and older, you may be stuck with something from back in 2008. I don't know. And so we have complicated questions to sort through. But if we can focus on what is my budget? What are my family's needs? Where do I live? Where do I need to live? What are my true options? Then we can really expand our perspective beyond just, am I going to lose my house? Are things going to go badly again? And we can focus on something that might be positive for us. I don't have any answers today. I don't have any 10 tips for you for how to take personal responsibility, to live frugally, to live minimally, to live intentionally. But I am very interested in the mindset behind those things, because what I have discovered in my own journey towards personal responsibility, which has been long and bumpy, what I have discovered is that when I have the mindset that I have influence over something, then I see more options. And something that might not have come up as an option before suddenly becomes a possibility. And maybe something that looked kind of bad before suddenly seems like, wait, that would actually work. And so the mindset of just looking at it and saying, okay, is this something I actually have influence over? Is this something that is my personal responsibility? If so, then possibilities open up. If I'm just looking out where I was last week If all I'm doing is looking out to the areas that I'm concerned about, but about which I can really do nothing, then I tend to feel paralyzed in my own personal life. And that's not my goal. It's also not my goal here on this channel. I am looking to give some more specific ideas and tips and hints, but really at the beginning of this channel, which is where I am, I'm on a personal journey, and I appreciate so many of you have decided to join in and follow along and offer tips and comments. Your comments have been fantastic, and I hope that you keep them coming, because when I'm talking about my own personal journey, it all starts up here. It starts with the mindset. And you know, I was terrified to start a YouTube channel for a couple of years. I was thinking about it and I was just so scared to start a YouTube channel, and I've finally done it. And it has opened up a world of new cyber friends who I am meeting in the comments and on each other's channels. It is opening up all sorts of possibilities for future possible pay. And it's saved me money, because being accountable to my channel has given me over $300 that I didn't have in my checking account before. And I'm really excited about that. So here today on this Wednesday Take, I'm really talking about the mindset of looking carefully at what is my circle of influence. What do I really have an influence over? And then looking at all the possibilities that are in that circle of influence. And there are always more than I imagined. And it's very exciting. One of those very exciting possibilities is the possibility that this channel could continue to grow. I'm shocked that every day I go online and I see that more people have subscribed. Thank you so much. If you would like to join that ever-increasing number, I hope that you will subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can be notified first of my new videos. And I hope that you'll give this video a like if you enjoyed this video and if you like this kind of content. Thank you so much for joining me on the journey toward frugality, minimalism, and intentional living, especially aimed at the needs of the mature woman. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.